of these thousands of ventilators, you haven't heard the word ventilator? Just like, and there's one other quick story. The wall, the wall, the wall, that's all you heard. Trump promised the wall. Will he ever give the wall, the wall, the wall? And then now the wall is going to be completed very quickly. We have over 400 miles of wall. And now you never hear the word wall. They never say, oh, he got the wall. He did it. And we built it exactly to the specifications of the Border Patrol. And they were tough specs, I will tell you. I said, how about concrete plank? No, sir, we need steel, we need rebar, and we also need concrete. Oh, that's great. But we got it built, and they have to have vision. They have to have slats because they have to be able to see through what's on the other side. You can't have it. You know, once you realize this, they're right. So we built it to those specs. Very, very, done an incredible job. We're doing 10 miles a week. We'll be finished very soon. But you never hear about the wall anymore, you know? That was a failure. If we couldn't get it done, it would be brutal. It would be a brutal time for your president. Because of our relentless efforts, the recovery rate right now on COVID, or the China virus, or the China plague, is 99.7%. Take the word. 99.7%. And I'm here. These two great people whose property we're using today, it's what a historic property. And all I know is they said, we just drove up the road, they've been here a long time. But not as long as George Washington, right? But they've been here a long time, and they said, and you probably, many of you said, do you see the crowds along, it looks like Broadway, except it's slightly more picturesque. Slightly more picturesque. But it's thousands and thousands of people lined all the way down to the highways. It's incredible. And they're all waving flags. Most importantly, they're all waving flags and they're proud of our nation. And I guess it has something to do with Pennsylvania. I'm going to be here all day today. But no, it's a beautiful sight, and they were very proud. And thank you very much for everything you've done. We're allowing younger, healthier Americans to resume normal activities while strongly protecting the elderly and those at high risk. And we're making the powerful antibody treatment that I received available to anybody that needs it free. Free. Wasn't their fault. But I had that, and I didn't feel good. I said, what's going on? And test positive. And I couldn't, I'm the president of the United States. I couldn't burn myself in a basement of the White House, as nice as it is. I actually got to see it one time. It's very nice. Like you would expect. It's a beautiful basement. It's in the White House. Very solid basement. But I couldn't do that, and I couldn't put myself in a beautiful room upstairs, beautiful bedroom, and stay there for a year and a half. I'm the president. And I'd go to meetings, I'd say, that's a lot of people. And then one day, that happens. And I said I wasn't feeling good. And what the doctor came in, and great doctors, great White House doctors, Sean, and they came in and they said, sir, you've tested positive. I said, tested positive for what? And they said, for COVID. For COVID. He actually used the term COVID. He's more politically correct than I am. He said, that's not good. But I didn't feel good, and we went over to Walter Reed Medical Center, which is phenomenal. I see the work they do in young men coming back so bad, and women so badly wounded. I see what they can do, and nobody can do what they can do. And Johns Hopkins was great, and a lot of doctors gathered around, but I didn't feel good. And they gave me something, Regeneron. And Eli Lilly makes a very similar kind of a thing. The concept is based on antibodies. And I woke up the next morning and I felt so great. I wanted to rip that Superman shirt open. I wanted to come back. I wanted to start doing a new trade deal and campaigning simultaneously. They said, sir, how about taking it easy for a couple of days? But no, it's incredible. What we've been able to do is, and I don't even know, maybe, now I'm saying, well, probably wasn't the drug. It's just that I'm in such perfect physical condition. And I'm very young. You know, if you're young. So I said that, and CNN got very upset with that. The camera just went off. The light. They got upset. They said, he is not young and he's not in perfect shape. I said, I'm a great physical specimen. They didn't like it when I said that. They don't like those kind of things now. But you know, I don't know. Maybe I helped. I don't know. But I can tell you, it's incredible what they've been able to do. And I think it did help a lot, frankly. I got out of there fast. I could have gone out a lot sooner too. I wanted to go out almost immediately. They said, nice and easy place, and but it shows you. Maybe I serve as an example. First Lady got it also, and she's better. She's perfect. And Barron Trump, right? Barron got it. My young boy is 14 years old, and my young tall boy, I say, very tall. He's a good guy, good-looking guy, and strong. So he has it. This is Barron tested positive also. I said, well, then I go. This was at the beginning. I go. I say to the doctor about like 12 minutes later, doctor, how's Barron doing? Oh, he's okay, sir. He sloughed it off. I said, you know why? They're young and the immune system works. That's why I say, get back to school.
We done with this?
Yeah.
Get back to school. Open up this state, Governor. Open up this state. And don't take advantage of those ballots, Governor. Don't do it. Don't do it. We will terminate the virus with science, medicine, and groundbreaking therapies and cures. I watched Joe Biden speak yesterday. All he does is talk about COVID. He's got nothing else to say. COVID. We agree. It's serious, and we've done an incredible job. And at some point, they're going to recognize that. At some point, you know, I said, we've done an A+ job. But I give ourselves a D or maybe an F in terms of public relations. But now I'll start talking about it a little bit. When Joe Biden was vice president, his failed approach on the swine flu was, as I said, a total disaster. And his chief of staff said that he had no idea what he was doing. I don't know why this guy said this. And now they're thinking about bringing him into the administration. I guess probably this was maybe before the flu came along or something, because I'm saying, why would he say this? He goes, quote, we did every possible thing wrong. And 60 million Americans got H1N1, far less lethal, by the way, far less lethal. And in that period of time, and it's just purely fortuitous that this isn't one of the great mass casualty events in American history. This is Biden's chief of staff. Think of what he said. Where did this guy come? You going to bring him back? It had nothing to do with anything we did. We didn't do anything right. Now think of this. And then he's saying, we want to take over what you're doing, right? He says, we want to take over. Remember, he said, when he first started running, that I did a poor job because I didn't act fast enough. I acted in January. We almost no deaths. No, think of this. And I said, China is heavily infected. They can't come in. And I went up against Dr. Fauci and others that said, no, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do it. I said, listen, they're infected, heavily infected. Let's close off China. So I did that. I closed off Europe. I did that. Saved, and Fauci would tell you, saved tens of thousands of lives, much more than that. And then when you think, okay, I mean, he saved thousands and thousands of lives, and then Biden was campaigning. And he was 2.5 months later, he said, we have to get tough. And he called me xenophobic because I closed. 2.5 months later, then he runs, and he said, he should have closed the country earlier. I said, I don't think he's going to get away with that. And let's see what happens on November 3rd, because if something happens that's wrong, where he did, then he did get away with that. Now, here's a guy, not the smartest guy out there, and he never was, but now in particular, he's not doing too well. But here's somebody that says that I didn't act early enough, and for 2.5 months, he was scolding everybody, saying that they shouldn't have closed off China, they shouldn't have done, and that nothing bad is going to happen. But remember the statement from that was his chief of staff made that statement. We mourn for every life lost to the China virus and in their memory and their sacred memory. We truly do. We weep, we mourn. It should have never happened. We will defeat the virus and emerge stronger and more unified than ever before. That's all we can say. We're going to be more unified than ever before. Our economy is now surging back faster, better, bigger, and stronger than any nation on earth. We just had the best quarter of economic growth ever recorded. Ever recorded by more than double. A 33.1% increase, more than a great number from 1952. That was the number we bet, but more than double. And you know what? The press is refusing to talk about it. It's not even a major story. It was, one of the analysts said today, it was the greatest economic number that they have ever seen. Okay, GDP up 33.1%. That means it grew 33 in a quarter. And the press barely mentions it, not even on the front page of newspapers, because that's the game they play at suppression. That's why we have to win. We can't let them do this. We have to win. This was according to a certain very important person, and Larry Kudlow, who's a terrific guy, and other people. So this is the greatest financial number probably ever recorded in our country. Think of that. It's a big statement. And double, more than double, a number from 1952. And it's barely covered. And that's only for one reason. Because they want us to do very poorly on November 3rd. They don't want to tell the American public about this. The one advantage I do have is I do have a way of getting the word out. But it's very tough where they pick it up. Even this, they won't pick this up. I made a statement, strong statement. They won't pick it up because it's good news. They'll fabricate stories. They'll make up false stories. They'll put you number one on Twitter all the time, 20 stories that aren't trending. These stories are so boring. They'll make up, the Times will write false stories all the time. And they'll put it, and yet they won't talk about the Biden corruption. They won't talk about where's Hunter, and they won't talk about, don't feel bad, the cameras are all off, don't worry, we just lost the last camera, I'm sorry. But they won't talk about the fact that Hunter got $183,000 a month to sit on the board of Burisma and got $3 million, perhaps $3 million up front. They won't, who had no job, who had no experience in energy. They won't talk about the fact that the wife of the mayor of Moscow gave him $3.5 million, right? For what? They won't talk about the fact that the father went to China in Air Force Two. Where's Hunter was with him. But his first name, his real first name is Ware. We're going to make it clear. Where's Hunter was with him. And in 10 minutes, he walked out with $1.5 billion to manage, which is millions of dollars in fees, millions and millions. And they won't talk about the fact that he was going for the big one next with China. He asked for $10 million a year for introductory purpose. In other words, he was going to introduce people. $10 million a year. This is a payoff. That's all it is. And they won't talk about the fact that the father was the big guy. To me, he's not a big guy. He's not a big guy. Really, he's very slight. Remember when he said a year ago, he said, I'd like to take him to the back of the barn? That's it. I went like this. I'll take him to the back of the barn. The glasses. Next year will be the greatest economic year in the history of our country if we don't raise taxes. If Joe Biden is elected, he will delay the vaccine, prolong the pandemic, close down schools, and impose a nationwide lockdown. That's what they're talking. Can you imagine that? And we're making the greatest comeback of any country by far, and they're actually talking He's talking about a lockdown. He has no clue, but he's talking about it. That's his only plan, to make you a prisoner in your home, a prisoner in your own country, and under the Biden lockdown, the recovery will be totally killed. The economy will crash. Country can't afford it. The people can't afford it, but country can. Can you imagine? I mean, your state has to open up too. All Democrat governors, you, Michigan, North Carolina, I mean, they're all Democrat governors. And they're probably doing it because they want to affect the election. You know, they're probably doing it by November 4th, they'll announce, we decided to open up Pennsylvania. The Commonwealth of
Daddy,
Pennsylvania
I
will be
want
open
to
on
spread
November 4th, yeah?
a chicken
No,
strip.